Now, we told you that today is part 2 of our conversation with Dr. Kelvin Owusu. He's going to answer all the coronavirus questions you have for him. So if you haven't sent your questions yet, just use the hashtag breakfastdaily or send them directly to us at 0550-585-832, and we'll do well to ask him. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233, and of course, Dr. Kelvin Owusu is the director of Optimacare Diagnostics. So I'm going to read the first question, but before the questions, Doctor, can you remind us exactly what coronavirus is and how we may catch the virus if we don't, apply all the WHO recommendations that they've given us?
Well, good morning to the viewers across Africa, and I just want to say that the president should have added barbers to the essential service providers, but I can't recognize myself at this point. But the substantive question, this coronavirus, it's a virus that we know. It's been around for a while, but this particular type is a mutant. It's a new kind of coronavirus, and that is why it's been a bit difficult to keep up with its spread. It's a respiratory virus, which means that it spreads through respiratory droplets, and then you sort of infect yourself, or you get infected when you come in contact with this respiratory droplets from one infected person, which may have fallen on a surface or may fall directly on you as you interact with this person. When you do get the infection, it affects your respiratory system. So you have symptoms such as cough, fever, difficulty breathing, and other related symptoms. Unfortunately, these symptoms are very, very non-specific. Now, when I say they are non-specific, what I mean is the symptoms do not point only to coronavirus infection. There are several other infections or several other viruses or disease conditions that can present with the same symptoms. And that's one of the reasons why it's been a bit challenging, especially in the forefront, the health workers, because if a patient comes to you with a cough, you may not necessarily know that it's coronavirus or not, and before you are aware, you yourself have been exposed. And so it's important that we have a high index of suspicion, so that if the person has had a travel history or the person has had any contact with any person who has been diagnosed as having the coronavirus, when your index of suspicion is high, then you are likely to pick up some of these patients, and then the appropriate interventions can be put in place. Also, the virus spreads even before these symptoms show up, and that is why it has become important to screen a lot of people, even though they may not be showing symptoms currently. And so this is just to give you an idea of what's going on. On the other hand, the other thing is that the infectivity rate or the infectiousness rate of this virus is very, very high. Currently we have over 1 million people in this world who have been infected. And out of this number, quite a sizable number, about 5%, have actually passed away. And because of this, it has created a lot of fear, because people assume that once you're infected, you're going to die. But that's not the case. There are more who have recovered from this virus than have actually died from it. And so there's still a lot of hope. And the medical professionals are still putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort to make sure that they give you the best fighting chance so that we can all come out of this stronger.
Perfect. So we're now going to go through the questions that we have received. So the first one says, please, if you feel backbone pains, headaches, and swollen eyes, should I suspect something like COVID-19? This is coming from Stephen.
Okay, so specifically, the symptoms you mentioned may not necessarily be related to COVID-19. However, let me also chip in that the COVID-19 can also present with general malaise. When I say general malaise, what I mean is general body weakness or general body pain. So it could be that all these things are, non-specific pointers of this coronavirus that we are discussing. However, the real question would then be, have you yourself had any contact with anybody who has been diagnosed as having this coronavirus? Or have you had any recent travel that may predispose you to getting this coronavirus? If you are not too sure about these things, then the simple thing to do is to call the coronavirus helplines or the 112, and then get either a rapid test or the formal test for the COVID-19, so that we'll know for sure what exactly your status is.
Okay, perfect. There's a question here from Twitter. What is the best diet for a night shift worker? as far as COVID-19 is concerned? Now you're a
Wow.
nutritionist.
Well, this question would have to go to a nutritionist. But the thing is, when you're on night shift, you'd have had your 3 meals already, your breakfast, lunch, and supper. So technically, you're not supposed to be eating again. However, because you are actively working, you might need some snack or energy boost somewhere during the shift, and so you could take some energy bars or some healthy snacks, fruits, especially fruits and vegetable salads, can also be something that you want to have on hand during the night shift so that you can sustain your energy during the period.
Okay, Tino says, please, I think I have a challenge breathing well. That's inhaling and exhaling. In effect, to little tedious activity I undertake puts me in a bad state for several minutes before I come back to normal. I have chest problems too. Can I get help or advice?
Okay. Are you an asthmatic person? Do you have asthma? That's very important to know. Because somebody who is asthmatic could have difficulty breathing, especially when they are exerting themselves, like when they are doing some form of physical activity. So you probably need to be checked up for asthma. However, I would also want to find out if this problem started recently or it's something that has been with you for a while. Because if it's something that has been with you for a while, then again, I would advise that you should hold on with visiting the hospital until after this coronavirus has blown over. However, if it's an acute thing, if it's something that has recently started now as you are speaking, then you probably have to brave the risk and then have a checkup to see exactly what the problem is. It could also be related to anemia, because anemia can also cause you to have difficulty breathing or you easily become tired when you exert yourself. So you probably need to have your blood levels checked to see if you are anemic. If you are not anemic, then the next thing will be to check for asthma. But ultimately, because it's related to the chest and respiratory system, obviously they would also want to screen you for the coronavirus as well, just to make sure that you are fine and you are not exposing the rest of the health workers to the coronavirus infection.
Okay, thank you. Evelyn from Makati here wants to know if you can catch the virus from your pet and not just someone who's positive.
Okay, so far there's not been any transmission from pets from animals to man to humans. There has been no documented transfer of the virus from animals to man. However, I think over the weekend we got some interesting reports from New York Zoo, where a human rather transferred the virus to a tiger, and so far no animal has transferred the virus to humans, and so you are still safe with your pets. However, you still have to do the hygiene practices. Make sure that after you have played with the pet, you wash your hands and avoid touching your face and all those things. It's so relevant, because the pets also have their own different kind of viruses that are with them. So if you interact with the pets and then you eat food or other things, you are introducing other viruses which could be different from the coronavirus. But for this particular coronavirus that we are discussing, there has been no documented transfer from pets or from animals to humans.
Thank you very much for that, Doc. We have another message from Emmanuel, who's reaching us from the northern region. He says, I wish to know the authenticity of this whole garlic is the best cure for coronavirus. How true is it?
Well, it's not true that garlic cures coronavirus. Now, what you have to understand is that when it comes to viruses, in general, we don't have a cure for any viral infection. No viral infection, no virus has been cured by any medication that is available to us. It is your body's immune system that will deal with any viral attack. And so when your immune system is able to overcome the virus, then you are cured or you recover. Everything else that we are doing, the medication we are taking, the supplements we are taking, the vitamins, the fruits, vegetables, all we are trying to do is to boost is to help the immune system, to strengthen the immune system so that it will be able to overcome the virus that is attacking. And so when you do take garlic, it's a good thing to take garlic. Garlic is a good vegetable, but it's not going to cure your coronavirus. It's going to help your immune system. It's going to give it a boost so that it strengthens it and it can deal better. It can fight off the virus better. So what the summary is that don't take garlic because your plan is to cure the virus with garlic. It's not going to happen. but garlic can help contribute to strengthening of the immune system, which eventually could help in dealing with the virus.
Thank you. Wumbe from Ashaman says, good morning. Please, my wife is a pregnant woman. She has been visiting the hospital. Yesterday, she visited again, and she was told to come on the 15th of this month. That's almost a week from today. The problem is I am very disturbed about this routine visits in these abnormal times. Is there any alternative means we can do at home or the facilities can do to avoid the frequent visits? So it has to do with a pregnant woman, frequent visits to the hospital. Her husband is worried that perhaps the doctors can come to their homes so that they don't potentially expose themselves to the virus.
I definitely understand where this gentleman is coming from, because these are unusual times. Now, when it comes to pregnancy, there are routine visits that you are supposed to do, like natal visits, which are scheduled. Initially, when you start, it's about once every 2 months, then it becomes once every month, and as you progress, it becomes once every 2 weeks, and eventually once every week until you deliver. And so I'm assuming that this woman is in the later stage of pregnancy, and so that is why she's being asked to come to hospital more frequently than the normal visiting processes. Now, if indeed everything is normal with the lady, if everything is fine, the lady is fine, the pregnancy is safe, her blood pressure, her sugar, everything is normal, then the recommendation is that you don't have to go to hospital as often or as frequently as you are doing. However, because I haven't seen the patient, I haven't seen her records, it will be difficult for me to tell him or her, to tell her not to go to the hospital. And so I'll say that he, in fact, both of them should go on the next visit and then ask the midwife or the obstetrician exactly why they are making her come so frequently. If indeed everything is fine, then they can come to some arrangement as he's suggesting, and if it's possible that they can do a video call or something for the consultation, it can be done. However, if you are in your early stage of pregnancy and you haven't started antenatal yet, it's important that you do. Find a way to get the maternity booklet so I can follow the instructions in there, because there are instructions that you need to follow. There are medication you need to be taking, multivitamins and other things to help the growing child. And so, even though going to hospital is a risk, sometimes you have to go to hospital because you need to go and have a checkup to make sure everything is fine. And so everybody needs to discuss with their doctor, their midwife, or their obstetrician to find the best way that they can minimize the number of times they're coming to hospital, so that we can still deliver a healthy baby and have a healthy mother as well in these trying times.
Excellent. And for our viewers, if you have any more OBGYN related questions, there will be a doctor joining us tomorrow on Breakfast Daily to answer all of your questions. So some of the things he'll be addressing, especially those who are battling to carry a healthy pregnancy or, trying to get a baby during this period. Is your spouse or partner at a loss as to how to access basic maternal health care at this time? He'll be here to answer all those questions for us. So it will be at 9:20 a.m. on Breakfast Daily tomorrow. We have another question here. My 2-year-old son seems to have a cold and a cough almost every other week. I thought it was from school, but now he's at home because of the pandemic and it's still happening. Could this be a problem? What could the problem be? This is for you, Dr. Kelvin.
Yeah, well, indeed, when they are in school, they do share a lot of infections. So the infections sort of stay longer in the class, because when one person's infection is going away, another person is starting. So they sort of the cycle is prolonged inside when the school is in session. Now that they are at home, we are seeing less of that. However, they are still playing around with their friends in the neighborhood, and so it's possible that they are still sharing the infection within the neighborhood. If there are concerns that this could be coronavirus, again, there are numbers available that we can call, and then they will take you through the questionnaires to confirm that indeed this is coronavirus or not. And then if there's a need to do a screening, the screening will be done appropriately. But so long as the children are playing amongst themselves with other children, they are likely to keep the infection, even if it's a common cold, it will be circling the environment for a while in the neighborhood.
Okay, there's another one here. I jog every morning, but recently I can hear some wheezing sounds when I breathe. What could have caused this, and should I be worried?
So wheezing is usually a sign of a respiratory issue, a chest congestion or chest difficulty breathing kind of situation, which is commonly found among asthmatics. Now, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you have a history of asthma personally or a history of asthma in your family, because sometimes asthma may develop later in life, especially if it is in the family. So you may have grown up without any asthma symptoms, but then suddenly you start developing asthma as you grow older. So it's a possibility. On the other hand, too, it could also be an allergic reaction. So it's possible that maybe the what's it called? The weather is changing, but we are in the transition period from the Hamatan. The rains have started gradually, and so every time there's a weather change, allergies also go up. Because when it rains, dust goes into the air, and once you inhale the dust, it can trigger some allergic reaction. So there are so many possibilities with your particular situation. Again, it's difficult to recommend that you go to hospital at this point because we are in unusual times. So if it's not too severe, if it's not too serious, and you can manage it, just manage it at home for now. And then once the risk of this coronavirus goes down, you can have a proper checkup, and they will know exactly what is going on. But if it's something severe that is restricting or limiting your ability to continue your jogging or to live a normal life, then definitely the positive that you get from a visit hospital outweighs the negative. And so then I would recommend that you go and have a checkup now, and then we'll see how it goes. But be advised that because the respiratory situation, once you report at the hospital, you'll be screened for coronavirus before anything else will be done.
Excellent. Bernard from Ningo Pram says, please, how can asthmatic patients be sure if it is not COVID-19 since the symptoms are the same? Sneezing, coughing, difficulty in breathing, etc.
Well, so I mean, in this case, I guess you can say that thankfully all asthmatics or most asthmatics know their asthma symptoms. And so once you know your asthma symptoms, then you know the triggers of your asthma symptoms, so that if you suddenly start having some symptoms and you can trace it back to a particular trigger, then you know that it's not coronavirus that you are dealing with. However, there's also all asthmatic patients also have their medication. We call some relievers, and these relievers are used when the symptoms start. So now, assuming that you start getting symptoms like you are wheezing or having the difficulty breathing, and then you pick your inhaler, you use it, and it solves your problem. The wheezing goes away, your breathing returns to normal. Then you are sure that it was your asthma that was acting up. But say you've got your symptoms and then you use your inhaler several times, it's not working. Then it's either the asthma has become a complicated asthma, or it's not your asthma at all. In which case you have to then report to hospital for proper attention, including screening for coronavirus. And so at this point, asthmatics need to be extra vigilant to know to avoid their triggers. And once you know to avoid your trigger, it means that if you're having other symptoms or symptoms that are similar to your asthma, but not like it's similar to what you usually experience, but there's some kind of difference, then you can report and have appropriate screening done or appropriate intervention started as well.
Okay, Adjoa from Accra says, please, I had some fever some weeks ago. It's however gone now after I took some Panadol, but now I'm having cough and a sore throat. I thought at first it was a yeast infection or an oral thrush because I have had it before, but I'm confused now because of the cough. I have taken some drugs for the yeast infection, even though I'm not having sore throats like before, but I'm still coughing. The cough is not a dry cough though, but please, can this be a suspected coronavirus case?
So this person has mentioned a lot of things, but I think the summary of the whole thing is that she's having a cough and a sore throat, I think, and she had fever a couple of weeks ago. I think to be on the safe side, she should actually call the Corona helpline, and then they'll take her through the questionnaires, and then if there is a need to have her screened, the screening will be done appropriately, so that if indeed it is Corona, the proper intervention can be started for her, just to be on the safe side.
Okay, now this is a different question, not corona related, but it's very important. I was diagnosed with hepatitis C. What can I do to reduce its impact as a pregnant woman? This is coming from Alice in Tamale.
Okay, so hepatitis C is, as the name suggests, it's a virus that affects the liver, and so that's why it's called hepatitis C. Now, how do I put it? It's because the liver is one of the major organs in the body, the industrial center of the body. Everything you eat passes through the liver. Every medicine you take passes through the liver. And so when you have hepatitis C, it means that there's a virus also sitting in the liver, which may be which may be active and causing damage to the liver, or maybe inactive and just waiting, sitting there quietly. Regardless, what you need to do at this point is that you need to minimize the damage to your liver by avoiding certain things that also cause liver damage. Example, alcohol. Alcohol causes liver damage. So if you have hepatitis C virus in your liver, alcohol drinking is not an option for you at all. Herbal medication needs to be taken with medical advice, because a lot of the herbal preparations or a lot of the herbs that are in the on the market can also cause liver damage. And so you need to be careful which ones you are taking, because if you have the hepatitis damaging the liver and then the herbs also damaging the liver, that's double trouble. Because you are pregnant, they are going to take you through some extra precaution, because we need to try and prevent the baby that is growing inside of you from also getting the hepatitis C. And so as you are progressing in pregnancy, they are going to advise you and tell you how to go about it. And eventually, when you do deliver, there'll be trainings that they will take you through, or education sessions they will take you through, to prevent the baby from getting infected even after delivery. So just make sure that you are attending antenatal, of course, within the reason or within the difficulties that we are having in this particular period, so that we can get the best outcome of this pregnancy.
Okay, we're going to continue the questions. And if you have more questions for Dr. Kelvin Owusu and you haven't sent them yet, don't forget to use the hashtag Breakfast Daily, and we'll ask him for you. If you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Again, for all pregnant women and women's sexual health questions, tomorrow we'll have a gynecologist to join us at 9:30 on Breakfast Daily. He'll be discussing all your questions for you. He'll answer all the questions you have. So tune in at exactly 9:20 tomorrow on Breakfast Daily, and he'll go through every single question related to your sexual health for you. Now, Dr. Kelvin, we have another question. Someone wants to know if shea butter cures coronavirus.
Shea butter? No, shea butter does not cure coronavirus. I mean, as I said, there's no cure for this coronavirus. There's no medication that you take that will cure the coronavirus. And shea butter used as for cooking is healthy, and so you can actually use shea butter for cooking. But I'll just make sure that it's good shea butter, because sometimes, especially the ones that they process into creams for the body. When we were growing up, there was shea butter that was sold in the market, which could be used to do your hair and all that, and still be used to cook. Nowadays, there's
So you mean the pure shea butter, the nkuto?
Additives. We cannot use those ones to cook.
Okay.
Yes, nkuto, you can use nkuto to cook, and you can also use it to put in your hair and all that. That one is fine. But then there's shea butter now that has additives. Those ones cannot be eaten, and so you need to make sure that you are using the right shea butter for your cooking, But if you're using it for cooking, it's healthy, but it's not going to cure your coronavirus. You still need other things at play.
Okay, another question here. Good morning. How are you? Please, my question is, my husband has been coughing and sneezing for a week now, and I and the baby, those are not. Okay, for a week now, and I and the baby are not. But he came back into the country on the 10th of March, which is more than 14 days incubation, and now I don't know what's causing it.
So with the travel history, I would recommend that he calls the Corona line, and then we'll take him through the appropriate thing. Because keep in mind that the 14 days is the incubation period. It doesn't mean that the person would go through the whole disease period within the 14 days. So it may be possible that after the 14 days, the symptoms may have started on a low scale and the symptoms are increasing in severity. And so that's what you are seeing now. I'm not saying he has it or he doesn't have it. I'm just saying that the 14 days is not it's not a holy grail that you must go through the disease cycle within 14 days. No, 14 days is when the time it takes for the symptoms to first begin to show. And so he came coming into the country on the 10th of March, means that the 14 days would have ended on the 24th or 25th of March, which is still only about a week or two ago. And so it's still a possibility. So let's get him screened if possible, so that we can get clarity on the way forward.
Okay, so there's a viewer here who wants to know that, Jifa, I've been hearing that if you have a strong immunity, you can beat coronavirus. So let's say you caught the virus, you were able to overcome it. Is there a possibility of catching it again, or once you're able to overcome it, you're fine?
So let me say that this is a new virus, a new disease that we are still learning a lot about. So far, the majority of people who have had the disease and then overcame it, most of them are fine. However, there's documented evidence that a few people have caught the disease a second time. And so we are not too sure yet whether that few people is a significant enough number to make a declaration that the disease can recur. We don't know. We don't have a clear answer on this particular question. For now, all we'll say is that whether you have had the disease or you have not had the disease, you need to continue the hygiene practices that we have been preaching all this while, which is hand washing, using sanitizer, avoiding touching your face, so that whether the disease can recur or not, you are doing your bit to minimize that probability.
Okay, so a question here from Basi in Nigeria wants to know if hot water treatment applied to the nose and also drinking hot tea can cure coronavirus. No.
The straightforward answer is no. Hot water treatment will not cure coronavirus. For instance, if you are doing a steam inhalation or gargling hot water or salt water in your mouth, what you are trying to do is you are trying to bring some comfort. It's a comforting process where you inhale the steam and it opens up your nose, your nostrils, so that you can breathe much better. If you have some sore throat, if you gargle the salt water or gargle the warm water, it can soothe the pain, and so it gives you some comfort there. But it does not cure coronavirus. It does not, in fact, it does not even aid the curing of coronavirus in any way. It just gives you some comfort. And so make sure that if you don't recommend this as a treatment for coronavirus, because it's not going to help in this regard.
All right. Another viewer says, please, I had a running stomach yesterday. I went about 5 times, so I became weak, but I took some ORS. What could possibly be causing my running stomach?
Well, running stomach or diarrhea is the body's reflex to trying to remove some toxic or bad things from your stomach. So it's possible that you may have eaten something that your body does not agree with, or something that was that had some toxin of sorts or a germ in it. And so once it got into your body and your body realized that it's not a good thing, diarrhea was started to wash it out, to flush it out of your body. And so with respect to what caused this particular diarrhea, I can't tell, but I suspect that you ate something that was bad. That is why your body is responding that way. ORS is good, so if you can continue taking the ORS, you'll be fine. However, if you are vomiting as well, I'm saying that if you are vomiting as well as having a diarrhea, then you may have to find your way to the hospital, because then it could be something else that we are dealing with.
Okay.
But let me just chip in. What I will not recommend though is taking medication to stop the diarrhea, because when you do that, when you take medicine to stop the diarrhea, what you end up doing is that you end up prolonging the diarrhea, because the bad thing or the thing that is causing diarrhea stays in your body longer. So when you take medicine to stop the diarrhea, you end up prolonging the duration of that diarrhea. So I would not recommend that you take anything to stop the diarrhea.
So just let it go. Just let it all
exactly.
out. Oh, excellent.
And take the ORS, take more fluids to replace it.
Okay. Kweku from East Legon says, please, I have some difficulties in breathing. I feel some shortness in breathing. Should I suspect anything?
You know, the interesting thing is that since this coronavirus came up, a lot of people have started feeling a lot of things that are not real. In other words, it could be that your mind is playing tricks on you, or because you are stressed, because of the heightened sensitivity to these things. Sometimes the slightest thing we sort of take it a bit too seriously, because the thing is shortness of breath. Every now and then, everybody has a bit of shortness of breath, especially if you are trying to maybe do something strenuous, or you are out of shape and you start jogging, you'll be breathless. You have difficulty breathing for some time. And so you have to then sit back and analyze: is this shortness of breath real? Was I doing something strenuous, or did it just happen because or when I was lying down flat, or am I having an associated headache, fever, cough that is associated with this shortness of breath? So that when you put all the pictures together, then you know for sure whether you are at risk or you are not at risk. And the ultimate: have you had any contact with somebody who has been diagnosed as having coronavirus, or have you returned from a recent travel outside Ghana? So when you put all these things together, then you are in a better position to determine whether this is actually a real symptom or is not a real symptom. And then the next line of action can be taken. But if you are not too sure what's going on, you can also call the Corona helpline, and then they will take you through the questionnaire, and then whatever comes out of it will be discussed, and then appropriate interventions taken on.
Okay, final question. Good morning. My wife is pregnant and on her scanned report, it was written sickling positive. What measures do we have to take?
So this question is not clear. Her scan result showed sickling.
Sickling positive.
Sickling. So I'm assuming sickling is referring to sickle cell. Now, sickle cell, you don't do a scan to determine sickle cell. So it's a bit difficult to understand what exactly you're saying.
Okay, but thank you so much.
Just to answer the question, people with sickle cell. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, doctor.
Yes, so I've seen that people with sickle cell are just as much at risk as the rest of us, if not more so, because they have a constant anemia. Their blood level is almost always below normal, and so they have a higher risk in these discussions. So they have to even take extra precautions when it comes to protecting themselves against this coronavirus.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelvin Owusu. If you have any more questions for you or want to talk to you directly, where do we reach you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook. I am Kelvin Owusu, MD, on Facebook, and then on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter as Nase Kuku and Kelvin OW. You can find me there, and then you can post your questions, and I'll address them as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelvin Owusu, for being with us. He's the Medical Director of Optima Care Diagnostics.